Startup Fairs, we're recharging with one more discussion. It's going to be amazing. Venture capital trends and changes. Questions and answers also be answered here. So if you're going to have one or already ready for one question, don't be afraid, don't hesitate, just fill it through. All right, first online, we're going to have Marili Merendi, here investor at Karma.VC. Also, Gabrielė Poteliūnaitė, Gabrielė, associate of the Change Ventures. Please welcome on the stage. Oh, Gabrielė is wiring right now. We're gonna wait for you. No worry. You ready? One more time. Let's give a big round of applause. Put your hands together for Gabrielė. Hello. What a beautiful smile here. The sun is shining. I think it's going to be an amazing discussion. All right. Also here on the very stage, Dominykas Stankevičius. Dominykas is an investment associate and Launchpad Capital. Also with him, Arvydas Bložė. Mr. Arvydas is an investment director at the Practical Capital. Sveiki, Arvydai. Hello. And we have a person to moderate this discussion. For this discussion is a founder and partner at Iron Wolf Capital, Mr. Tomas Martūnas. All right. So glad to see you all on the stage. I hope you're ready. You ready? The mood is good? Yes. The mood is good? All right. We have everybody's online. Hello. So, boys and girls, let's give a big round of applause one more time, everybody. Ponios ir ponai, daug garsiau. O, labai gerai. Let's go. Good luck.
Good. So, yeah, thank you, everyone who's watching, and welcome colleagues on stage. So maybe we'll start from Estonia, yeah? If you'll have some comments, so it's interesting what's happening, you know, somewhere. Not in Lithuania, a little bit closer, but I think the Baltics are so small that everyone is looking everywhere, and therefore we have Karma here. So I'm just interested, what good happened, yeah, during this 2020, or maybe mid of 2020, then all this COVID kicked in. So could you elaborate from your side in our venture capital space?
Yeah, hello everyone. So it's first of all good to see the panelists and the other guys that I haven't seen for a long time. It's a really interesting setup over here, I must say. I look over like a huge giant head, but I hope we manage this way. But yes, so my name is Marili and I'm from Karma Ventures. We are Estonian-based VC, but actually we have very active focus on the whole Baltics and as well like the whole Europe. So we try to find like deep tech software companies and also hardware companies everywhere, and especially like in the Baltics. We invest in late seed and A round opportunities, so very happy to get to know everybody who think that this could be like a starting point of a good collaboration. But to answer your question with regard to like 2020 and 2021 perhaps as well, like what good has happened is that definitely the world in a startup and VC space, I think, has become a bit smaller, and everybody's much more reachable. I think the pace has really taken up in terms of how easy it is to connect with not only investors and mentors and everybody who is impacting your business, not only who is like in close proximity, but actually what we've seen very significantly is, for example, the US investors coming to Europe, coming to the Baltics. And I think while it kind of, increases the chances for the startups to really pick like good investors, of course, to some extent increases also competition among the funds. But I think overall it's a very positive trend that you like the access that both parties are providing to each other.
Anyone? Yeah.
So maybe I can jump in here because I represent Launchpad Capital, which is a US-based fintech venture capital firm. We recently announced that we're going to start our operations in Vilnius, Lithuania, and scout European fintechs. So I think what we see is that there's a lot of money in the market which results in more VCs being created, more dry powder being in the VCs. A lot of angel investors are coming towards investments as well, and we're happy to co-invest with them. And a lot of people want to start investing into the startups. So I think that's a global trend. What we try to do is we try to specialize. We're only investing in the fintech sector where we believe we can add value. And I think the smart capital is going to be the next big thing. And I really encourage startups to ask, what does your investor provide you besides the capital? Because I think nowadays there's just so much capital around.
Completely. I mean, I can only add, and I can agree with both Marili and Dominykas. And I think, so I represent Change Ventures, which is a pan-Baltic seed fund, one of the largest seed funds in the Baltics. So we invest throughout all 3 Baltic countries, and it doesn't have to be, the business doesn't have to be based in the Baltics, but we invest into ambitious Baltic founders. So I think what we noticed also over the past year, especially over the past half a year since I joined, that a lot of, I think what Marili and Dominykas also said, that there's so much foreign funds that are now also looking into the Baltics. And I think the competition is getting higher. So I feel like also for startups, they don't have to accept any terms because if, there's not enough funds available or not enough capital available. They're actually now they're the ones choosing which investors they want to jump on board, like who are the investors that they want to continue this journey further. And I think that's great that the COVID really allowed that to happen, that there's now funds from the UK, from Paris, from the US that can co-invest with local investors. And I think that's just, we need that competition, I think, to drive also the development of the Baltic ecosystem of the startups.
Okay. Yes, I think I'm Arvydas from Practica Capital, and we are Baltic dedicated early stage investor, investing from seed and Series A stages. And we do invest horizontally, so we're not focusing on any particular sector, as probably our talent pool or population is rather limited, and it's better to find a good team and back them up as much as you can. Regarding the trends, it's a very broad question, and I think there are some fundamental differences or fundamental structural changes in venture capital that happened, and mainly was facilitated by COVID, but namely by trillions of dollars provided as aid packages and the Juncker plan and so on, that kind of diluted the value of money, right? So it's just a lot of money being printed out and they have to be deployed. So this caused some interesting kind of effects, ripple effects, that money supply is so big that it's no longer kind of a question of access to money. And venture capital, as you see, a lot of US now investors are facing Europe for reasons not only that there is abundant money supply, but also that it's a lot of talent pool in Europe. And in a way, it is cheaper and flexible and so many different areas. Also, Silicon Valley is kind of, there is this trend of moving to Boston or Austin. And there are very interesting things that are happening basically on that structural very high level, right? And then here in let's say what Europe or deal making also changed, because it's no longer kind of the case or the money is so abundant that you get a lot of, if you're a good company, you get a lot of attention, right? And then for a founder to choose it, it's like even big names don't matter, in my opinion, and it becomes this personality, like partner at a fund that is dealing with you has a lot of impact, right? And then these names are blurred because valuations are getting very, very competitive, very, very high. Investors are, in a way, choosing the deals they want to be and then betting on that deal rather than, going on their own terms and like trying to explain how we do the deals. It's for those very competitive cases, very good companies and fundraisings, I think it's very different path. A lot of investors bidding, not really mindful about the valuation, and then as a founder, it becomes very personality-driven decision. So this is, I think, just very, very interesting changes that happened in the past, let's say, 18 months, or maybe I realized this, and it always was like this, but at least for me, that was very interesting.
Okay, and yeah, we are, as a first-time fund, probably the biggest in Baltics with 21 million, and we invested now in 10 companies, and another 10 is on the way, I would say, yeah. So we invest in teams, not in particular sector. We look at that. This is the core. But coming back, not about us, but about the question, yeah, about the good things, what happened. So I try to point, 3 things, in my opinion. So, and even here in stage, we have a diversity. So I'm really proud and happy to see, more women coming into the venture capital, which adds a different perspective, different views. And I think, it helps to accelerate. And statistics shows that even the startups which are run by women usually have the better results. So this is one, yeah. The second thing, what happened, in my opinion, it also happened the cooperation. I mean, before that, everyone was flying in, flying out, and like really looking about just themselves. And I would say in venture capital ecosystem, probably what happened that it's more and more funds talking together, feeling who is comfortable leading the deal, and then others are joining. So it's very rare you're gonna see that it's like in one deal there is one investor. I mean, recently I haven't seen such a deals. So in my opinion, this is also important that, to notice for the startups that you guys talk to each other, find good things, investors talk to each other, yeah? So this is also good, and probably that, reputation and what Arvydas also touched, that, the value add from the partners becomes more and more what is matter in selecting your lead investor. And maybe I'll come to the third point, and then I'll reverse for you the question is, in my opinion, that Baltic ecosystem is really maturing in terms that it starts getting all necessary parts for venture capital to blossom. I mean, like angels networks are, growing and accelerating, and new guys coming in from our countries and even from abroad or diaspora. I think that we have enough accelerators. Maybe Latvia could do a little bit better, I would say, but we have plenty of those in Baltics. And then there are much more venture capital funds with much more capital who capable to invest. And sometimes even with the partners, then we talk, we say that right now I don't know where it's better to sit, or to be the founder or to be in the venture capital, yeah, from the math perspective. So this is something we're joking. So really, if you have, the great idea, so this is something, I think you're in the right time, and it's good, yeah. But in that maturing all parts, maybe how you see the ecosystem developing, yeah, and what is good or bad in it, or what are the missing maybe parts? Anyone?
I think I can start. I think briefly touch upon, just add to what you already said, that I think especially what we've been seeing in Estonia, and I think Marili can add up on that, is that a lot of the very successful startups that exited, such as Skype, TransferWise, Pipedrive, and you see that the founders...
Vinted.
Sorry?
Vinted.
Yeah, well, yeah, Lithuanian case. But, and they're creating angel syndicates, and they're investing into the new startups. So I think it's a very circular, sort of sustainable ecosystem that is being created now in Estonia. So there's a lot of angel and smart capital available there. And I think what we're seeing also slowly in Lithuania as well, as you said, with like the Vinted case. And I think we need those big companies being highly valued startups, that are reaching high valuations. There's more capital available than from those co-founders to start angel investing. And I think slowly Lithuania is also catching up with Estonia, I think, step by step.
How Estonia sees that?
Maybe one aspect over here is that I definitely second to this, that first of all, we've had now very knowledgeable early stage investors actually present that can really come in a pre-seed or seed stage and really help the founders. And I was just watching the previous panel about angel investing as well, and it's really it's a very crucial funding stage, or let's say the maturity stage for the company, this early stage specifically. But maybe one more aspect to add is that what to be mindful about is that about later stage investing, that I think one aspect that is not often, let's say, widely spoken about is LPs. And the guys were actually giving money to VC funds, that we need to be let's say, considerable about how to really attract good, experienced LPs in this region who are actually packing the funds, and they're also giving their advice to GPs how to do it really well, because otherwise there is some threat that eventually all the later stage investments are actually made by the funds elsewhere. So this, let's say, natural ecosystem development, it's not only startups and very early stage funding, but it's also actually later stage and ends with LPs.
So maybe I can add, among our LPs, we have one of the best fintech founders in the United States. We have corporations there who have different mentality about growth and scale. And I think, coming here, I can see how the market is changing. And beforehand, it was more like, we're going to build the product, let's say in Lithuania, Latvia, or Estonia, and then we're going to grow in the Baltics, maybe Poland. But now more and more startups are talking about going global, which is, I think, very, very encouraging. And I would, tell to the startups, dream big. And, we as the venture capital, we build rocket ships. We're not going to build bicycles, so we want to build something that's going to, fly to the moon. And I think that's very good and positive trend that a lot more and more startups are talking about going global in the Baltics. So I think that's very positive as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's we touched very interesting points, and I think it's very broad topic. So I'll try to touch some points, especially probably starting from that capital has no borders, right? So capital follows. It has no, if there is a demand, capital will flow. So for a lot of time, I think in the Baltics, and I can definitely say in Lithuania, we didn't have this VC ecosystem developed, right? It started in 2012. It started to kind of kickstart the ecosystem, right? There were first startups and so on. And right now what we see, it's clearly in Estonia, it's probably founders can raise pre-seed round just going to the bar and meeting other former founders. And it's happening very fast, very quickly. And I think this trend is accelerating. For us, it's very hard to get in pre-seed because it's typically raised very fast with super good entrepreneurs that talk to a founder for 15 minutes, feel the chemistry, and this is it. Angels are very active there. In Latvia, first unicorn, right? Now all 3 countries has a unicorn. This is major change. I think it's, again, in Latvian, the development, the pace of development is a bit different, but it's not bad, it's good. And in Lithuania, we have probably, for me, the biggest change is that we have tech family. This is probably how I can put it. Successful founders in Lithuania are really kind of bonding and gathering together and helping the ecosystem. And born Unicorns LT kind of project is born precisely for that reason, right? Because if you think about it, when you, okay, let's put it other way around. When a startup is looking for a talent, and they are because talent is very scarce in Lithuania, and then you're issuing some offer for, let's say, IT developer or someone to join your company, right? And then you are competing on a salary level. Then corporation is kind of bidding back because they don't want to let him go or her. And then the situation happens that, okay, you offer employee stock option. And still in Lithuania, there is not enough proof points, and in Latvia as well, I think in Estonia is different, but there is not enough proof points that this employee stock option is actually valuable, right? So in a way, so many things are happening around B, C, D rounds, unicorns are born, but at the same time, we have to understand we're living in a bubble within VC and startup world, right? But when you look for talent, still stock option, it's just a paper. There's no value to it. We need this to happen. So next 5-6 years, I think, when everyone will start to, not everyone, let's say general population will start to realize what is this tech scene, what are they doing, how much value is created. It's gonna, again, give another boost and impact because we need these successes going on to the employees as well. We don't have enough exits. In Latvia and Lithuania, in Estonia is different. So I would say this is amazing times, best time to be kind of founder, best time to be investor. Baltics are definitely on the hotspot globally. This is where amazing things are happening because we are export driven. No one can have enough demand internally unless you're doing, retail or some trade. If you build tech, you have to go global. And this is what's putting us on the map, and this is why founders are really striving. We have huge diaspora that are coming back to the Baltics, and in COVID it happened that a lot of them came back, saw, wow, it's amazing to live here, right? I don't have to be cramped in my 40 square meter apartment in London. I can rent here like a house and just live near the lake. And I think we will feel these effects going into the next 1 or 2 years. And with overall kind of success of the ecosystem, it's gonna be the best place to be in the whole world.
Yeah, and maybe just complementing, I think that, Arvydas touched that ESOP. So I think that what's important is probably that also it appears the secondary funds, which means that then your startup succeed, they usually give the founders liquidity, because probably if you are early employee, you worked your ass for 3 years, 4 years, so you got to the Series A, and usually venture capital don't want to see the huge salaries, so you expect that you're gonna earn the same way than we will earn, meaning from selling the company or equity or part of the equity. But those funds also gives you a little bit possibility to have a liquidity, meaning you sell part of your shares and you can breathe a little bit, yeah. So I think this realization and the founders who used to work in the unicorns or in other let's say bigger corporations start thinking how to get their own startups, and employees have more courage to switch to this ecosystem, which haven't been a case probably like 2 years ago, yeah, if just to compare. And the second thing which was touched about the speed of the deals, yeah. So I think we have a lot of catch-up versus to the safe in Delaware, which the deal is closed in 2 days and then the money is transferred in another 2 days, versus our LPs, requirements of due diligence. And I think that Estonia and Latvia already start doing the standardization of the case, of cases documentation, which makes all the parties joining easy. And I think this is something for Lithuania to improve, not to have hundreds of different term sheets of the funds, but rather having singularity, which makes more easy for the founders to fundraise and even more easy for the funds to jump in, yeah, if it's standardized. So I think this is something, just probably small wish for the ecosystem. I just looked and encouraged if anyone of you have the questions, so feel free to shoot. And I just got one from here, because I think, if it is important for you, it's important for us to answer, is in regards, do we see the shortage of talents? So I would like maybe to also to a little bit adjust this question. So if everyone could answer. And the second question maybe, which for the audience and for the startups I think would add value answering, is at which stage you're investing, yeah? Because then we have so many players, so we see startups who comes without the traction or with the half team, and then, it's kind of chaos, and, accelerators have small funds, so ecosystem don't know how they cooperate, not cooperate, how to do it. Could we just, a little bit give the clarity with saying, what we expect founders to get done, then they start talking to us. So this is first question, and second is about from the audience about the talents. Estonia, we talked quite a lot here in Lithuania, it's 4 of us. Then it's a little bit for you.
I totally get it. So perhaps like with a fund focus, as I said before, so we are focused on late seed and A round. Very fuzzy nowadays, given like how the valuations have gone up, and maybe more specific here would be that from the ticket perspective or the first investment size perspective, we are investing anywhere from 1 million to 4 to 5 million. And we have a full-on capacity per company for more than 10 million. So that's maybe giving you like some understanding of the stage. With regard to company's maturity, we would like to see early product ready, and we would also like to see that there's already like some commercial result, whether this is from first pilot customers or from first production customers, or you have a metrics maybe not revenue related, but it shows that actually your product is valuable. There's like user metrics growing, however, then it's measured on a company level. With regard to the talent shortage, I think it was very well touched before that you know, there should be like encouragement from talented people that are doing other things outside of startups, that they would join startups, that they would start startups, and in a way like see this as a career opportunity perhaps. Of course, you know, we've seen startup numbers growing up tremendously. Does it necessarily mean that the, let's call it, quality of startups has gone up as well? It's not like one-to-one relation. But at the same time, I think there are very many talented people. However, we need to find ways how to capture them in a startup world, in early founder positions or early senior management positions.
Dominykas, Gabrielė?
Yeah, so we, maybe answering from, I'll start with the second question. We invest anywhere from 100K, so starting very early with the incubation, ideas on the napkin. We love to build together with the founders. Our general partner is a serial fintech founder. So we love to get in early. We can invest up to a couple of million of euros. I think what we focus on a lot is we want to try to help the startups go to Delaware, to do the flip from the Baltics to Delaware, because in Delaware it's much, much, much easier to raise later stage funds. And we want to help them do that. I think Europe has a gap of 5 to 10 million euros of tickets, and we want to take them global and we want to get them to Delaware. So that's where we invest. Fintech, as I said before. Talking about the talent, I think it's a very important question about the risk tolerance from the talent, because I think there's a lot of good talent here, but why a lot of people don't join startups is because they're afraid that the startup won't succeed. And if you have more remuneration in equity instead of salary, maybe it's nicer to have a stable corporate job. That's what they think, and I think that's a mentality that we have to fight with. And I think the more people will join startups, the more successful they're going to be. So I think it's trying to create some kind of safety nets for those people. So I think that's a very important thing that we have to do. But I think the trend is positive. More and more people are joining startups. So I think that the mentality is changing.
Yeah, I think, like at some points, I think quite the opposite. But let's start from how we invest, right? So you have to understand that fund manager creates a fund as a result of how ecosystem is functioning, right, and their own thesis and their own strengths and so on. Right? So we raised our fund in 2019 that we are investing currently. That was a very different situation. If we discuss how the ecosystem changed, and it changed dramatically, right? So right now we are doing like we try to enter at seed stage from 500K ticket, support the company up to 3 million in total, and then do Series A 1.5 to 2 million. And we are a lead investor in 85% of our deals. So we are the ones that typically setting the terms, aligning other investors if needed, right? And then really pushing the company, not operationally, but strategically to a next phase of development. Should it be Series A, Series B, or should it be, we have one company that is just profitable, right? So there's no let's say, clear outcome. So the next one will be very different, because ecosystem rounds are getting bigger, because and also investors are getting much smarter. So you cannot give, like 5 years ago, it was the case that you had this, 200, 300,000 tickets, and you try to give it and can convince everyone this is exactly how you need. Right now it's changing, that you understand that there is a budget to achieve something, and then you need to add 20, 30% extra to ensure there is a run rate after this. So I think VCs are getting super kind of founder-oriented, company-oriented. Money is no longer that issue. We have our successes, so next one will be different, right? And on the talent shortage, it's a very, very tough and very important kind of aspect, right? Because countries are small. That's one thing. We have small countries. Second thing is that our ecosystem exists only for 10 years, right? So there are not like thousands of product managers or thousands of CTOs or thousands of CIOs or anyone, if you will, that saw the journey through. So even though countries are small, but it's feasible and possible, right? But the talent pool of certain execution is growing. So by the virtue of companies going to unicorn status and so on, and employing and working in global markets, these people are kind of polishing their skills. And I think in 2-3 years, it's going to be like in times. If we have, let's say now 100 product managers in Lithuania at that global level, right? We will have, I hope, 1,000. And then it's going to change again. And another thing to touch upon the talent pool is, of course, that it's not enough for the sector to develop by itself. So for tech companies, right? We need to find good immigration policies. We need to support like talent relocating here, and we have to make sure that also intellectual property in some ways could stay here in the Baltics, right? So that would be amazing. So I would say in talent pool, a bit different than Dominykas, I would say that we are lucky that we don't have corporations, big corporations like Siemens and other, that top engineers are making like $1 million per year. And they have opportunity cost to start any kind of startup. So here, opportunity cost to do a startup is actually not that high, because our salary levels are not, and we don't have this incumbent super organizations. So I think it's very good place for people just to start doing startups, start doing business, because there's not that much to lose actually.
I think everything actually got covered, so I think I can just quickly jump and cover what we invest in. So we do pre-seed and seed, so I think very similarly, as Arvydas said, also as Practica does. So we started with a ticket from 400,000 euros, and then we go up to 1.5 to million is our ceiling. So that's also, again, the round sizes have been increasing. So what used to be, let's say, a seed used to not go above 1 million, 1.1 million, 1.5 million. We're seeing that it now has also been increasing. Thus, we also, as a fund, we have to adjust and adapt. And yeah, we placed a sort of a limitation for ourselves. So as I said, we only invest in sort of ambitious Baltic founders, and we place this geographical. We're also, as Practica, a generalist investor. We also usually lead our investments because we have ownership targets, but I think we place this Baltic-oriented focus, geographical focus for ourselves limitation, because we think there's enough happening already here, and sometimes it's even hard for us to keep up, so there's no point to sort of divert ourselves and look outside of the Baltics. So I think that's it. I'm not going to go, I think, into more detail, because I think everything got covered.
And then from our side, we used to invest smaller tickets, the same, now increasing from 300 to 500,000, sometimes even more. And maybe something what is sometimes different versus other funds that we usually talk, can we add more money at certain stage, thinking how you can grow faster, yeah? Because some even good founders, I would say we still in Baltics a little bit risk averse, and saying that, okay, I'm gonna hire one salesman, so I'll see his result, and then I'm gonna add another 2, and let's see. And then it's a year past, and then I'll do the bridge round, yeah? And you say, how about hiring 10 salesmen straight away, yeah? Could you just, do those more exercises more faster, yeah? So this is maybe something what we have those conversations, what differentiates us, and we just bring maybe another angle to the founders' thinking plan, how to develop their company. Yeah? And of course, regarding talents, it's always the case that, in psychology, there is saying that A-level people attract A-level people, B-level people attract C-level people. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, therefore, team is a core, and we look at it, and we assess it. And we expect that founders understand, are they A-level or maybe they are B, but then you understand that they took additional steps attracting through advisory, through the board, the guys who are really A-level for their particular startup to succeed. Then you understand that, if even though right now they don't look like A, but they did enough steps to become A's, yeah, and then it makes us happy. Yeah? So I would say with the talents, it was never, very nice situation, especially in small countries. But we always find where to invest. So I think it's quite enough, and we see more funds, more accelerators, and everyone invests and increases. So probably there is no such a big problem as sometimes it is, trying to be exaggerated that it's, such a big problem with talents. But on the other hand, I agree that there are not a lot of talents who already went through this journey, through expansion, growing from one sales manager to 10 to 100, and they don't know how to do it. So they are learning on the way. So that gap, I would say, it's still missing, And the only way is, how we do is like through advisory or hiring from outside, paying more money and just getting the competence right now, right here in your startup. Then I'll touch, I don't know, maybe somebody will want to answer, how many venture capital funds are here in Lithuania? So, being honest, I think there is by Deloitte and Venture Capital Association. You can take a look. There is a report released. So I wouldn't limit ourselves to what you see here, the guys who invest in Lithuania, but like all the funds which are in Estonia probably would invest if they like it, and the Angels Network, all the funds are here, and all the funds in Latvia, and even we're probably gonna have some funds who are coming from CE countries and even from other EU countries. So I would say there are tens, at least, who are interesting in you, But usually in the very early stage, international investors wants to have a blend of the local investor, So as I said, usually you're gonna be getting investment from the syndicate. So therefore, it also, for us, for example, it sounds quite strange why Finnish startup comes to Lithuanian fund. Then, in Finland, there is like, 10 times more funds and capital. So what is wrong? What we don't understand why they're here.
We are just good. We made 2 investments in Finland, and there's plenty of opportunities.
So it can be, So it can be, but I'm just giving an example, just thinking, and probably you invest not solely, also with somebody from Finland, or no?
Yes.
So this is what I'm trying. You like maybe the thesis, which is good, but usually it's going to be a joint deal. So I always encourage first go to the local ones, to train how it sounds, improve yourself, and then go to the international if you feel that, you was turned down, or, the local ones do not understand you.
Well, local ones are the best investors. Really, we are not that bad.
Okay. Then we have a question. What is a typical salary of the founders in the startup, which VCs are still comfortable with? Anyone would like to touch?
They don't have a salary. This is not a good question, because you're paying yourself.
Anyone else?
I would disagree. I think founders have to have minimum salary. It depends on their experience, but I think it should be market level salary. I don't think founders should live on zero and try to eat the equity for dinner. So I think we have to pay some kind of at least market salary. But it depends on the experience. Like it's hard to answer this question in with one number.
Because there is no standard, exactly. It's like you must pay and you must balance this as a founder.
Ladies, anything from your side?
I would also comment over here that every case is unique, and exactly like it's a combination of experience. It's also a combination of what's the expectation of the founders, and it's very important that there's a mutual understanding between investor and the founder, like what this level should be, that the person can actually live the lifestyle that he or she wants to live. So, and it's definitely shouldn't be like number or certain level restricted.
Yeah, just maybe complementing, the colleagues is, I would say that it's about probably being on the same side with the founders, meaning that we as a fund will make money only then we will exit together. So first of all, for us, it's important to align the interest. And it's also about risk-taking that, if you say, I want to continue my luxury life, then it's a big question. So about risk-taking, because we're taking risk. We're taking risk and responsibility for our investors, yeah, whose money we invest, and we need to bring back return. So if you are taking responsibility only to spend money, not to create the value, then it's a question about the aligning interests. So I think it's very important to have that in mind. And of course, it's personal case, yeah. So if I know that you have, I don't know, few kids and and mortgage and something, so we understand that you need to have the life, but at the same time, we would like you to take the risk. A startup journey is about the risk taking. We're taking risk, but we expect you to do the same. And I don't. Yeah, we almost finished. So the last question, maybe, is from Angels Fund, is do you mind to make the venture capital funds pitching the startups or later stage companies? Reverse pitching.
So what do you think about reverse pitching?
No, I mean, would you like maybe to have the event that we're not talking, but as a startup comes for 3 minutes, maybe in the next event we do the same, pitching of the funds, so we convince startups to come to us.
There are actually sessions like that. I think in other events there have been like reverse pitching sessions. Overall, it's my personal opinion here, but I think pitching as such, it is a way to communicate fast what you need to say, whether you're now a startup or an investor. But I think eventually what you're aiming for is not to have a pitch, but the conversation, which is like both parties trying to figure out whether they are partner to each other.
Yeah, so as you heard, and hopefully the Startup Lithuanian team will take into account that funds don't feel uncomfortable, pitching to the startup. So maybe in the next year agenda.
But it was in 2019. We had this pitching, reverse pitching, and then Latitude, I think, also has this section.
Yeah, so it's normal. So hopefully in the next year agenda, you're gonna see it. And then I want to thank all participants for this nice discussion. I hope that you guys enjoyed. It seems we managed to answer most of your questions you asked. So wish you the rest of the day and upcoming weekend, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.